So, I'm wandering around a random neighborhood, and I find these two very tall palm trees. And I think to myself, I wonder how tall those palm trees actually are. Now, not everyone shares my random curiosity. However, it's definitely possible that you would need to measure the height of these trees for some other reason. Say you're a contractor and your job is to cut those two trees down and you want to do it safely. Well, you need to know how tall the trees are, because if you don't, then those trees will fall onto that car and that house and that house and that truck, and it would be all kinds of bad, right? You need to know how tall those trees are, not only so that you know how many chunks to cut it into as you're cutting it down, but also to figure out what kind of equipment do you need. Do you need a truck that'll get you 100 feet in the air, or do you only need a truck that'll get you 50 feet in the air? Let's find out.
So because I don't have the ability to actually climb the tree with a giant tape measure and figure out how tall the thing is, I'm going to work on figuring it out indirectly. So what I did was I measured the street in the neighborhood, and it was right around 27 feet across. So there's 27 feet between me and the tree. Now if I could somehow figure out this angle between my head and the tree, we should be able to figure out how tall that tree is. We just have to add 6 feet, because my eye, where I will be taking my measurements from, is right around 6 feet off the ground. And I actually drew this a little bit off, so I'm going to try this again. See if I can get that a little bit more parallel to the ground. There we go. Now, to find the length of the street, obviously I just used a normal tape measure. No problem. But to measure the angle from my face to the top of the tree, I'm going to use a tool that surveyors and explorers and sailors have been using for centuries, and it's called a clinometer. Clinometer like incline. To make a quick clinometer yourself, you can use a protractor and a piece of string dangling with a weight, so that when you tilt the protractor, the string will tell you what angle you have. These days we have many more high-tech options when it comes to clinometers, and in fact, I'll be using an app on my phone to get this done today. Okay, so here's the app that I'm using as a clinometer. As you can tell, as I tilt it, it changes the angle. So if I make my phone totally horizontal, it should say 0 degrees. And the idea is to hold it in such a way that I can look down the top of the smartphone and tilt that up until it's lined up with the top of the tree. But I want to do it really so that it's parallel with the ground when I start, and then look up to the top of the tree. Yeah, I know it looks kind of goofy, but I mean, again, it's what real surveyors do. They just have actual equipment that goes to their eye rather than holding up their phone to their face. Now, I did take footage of me finding this angle, but with the wind and everything, the sound was just awful. So just take my word for it when I say that the angle between my face and the top of the tree was right around 67 degrees. Okay? So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to pause the video, see if you can figure out the total height of the tree. Now remember, whatever you get for h here, you're going to have to add 6 to it, because I'm taking the measurement from 6 feet off the ground, right? So whatever you get for h, make sure you add 6 to it. Ready, set, go. Now, unlike my other videos, I'm not actually going to hold your hand and walk you through this. I'm just going to go ahead and drop the answer and let you check your work against the answer and see if you got the same thing, okay? So the answer I got for the total height of the tree was 69.6 feet, which is about 69 feet 7 inches. That's my answer. See if yours matches.
As I was walking around, I came up to this other palm tree that looks even taller to me. It's even got a little flag on it. But unfortunately, this one is in someone's backyard, so I can't exactly get in there and figure out how far away I am. I can't measure how far away I am from it because it's in a backyard. But thankfully, thanks to trigonometry, I still have a chance. If I know the width of the street, which I already do, it's 27 feet wide, I can take one angle measure here on this side of the street, and then another angle measure from the other side of the street, and I should be able to use those two angle measures together to figure out how tall this thing is, even without being able to measure the distance to it. Okay, so this is the measure from the close side of the street. I am lining myself up as best I can. And the angle should be right there now. Okay, going across the street, 27 feet away. And once again, lining it up. And there's my angle right there. Okay, I've got my measurements. I'm gonna head back home and let's see what we can do with this.
So here we have a basic illustration of what we're talking about. Now I've added this dotted line to represent that, again, all of my measurements are being taken from 6 feet off of the ground, which means that any height that I get for that tree, I'm going to need to eventually add 6 feet to it, and I can't forget that. So here's the height of the tree that I'm looking for. And what I've done is I've taken the angle measurement from two different spots. One spot was here, and one spot was, we'll use a different color, here. Now I don't know if you were able to see those measurements because I know the sound was pretty janky, but this angle measure here was almost exactly 40 degrees. And this angle measure here from the other side of the street was right around 32 degrees. We are looking for this height, and we have no idea how far away I am initially from the tree, but we do know that the distance in between the two places where we took this looks awful. We do know the distance between the two positions that we took it is 27 feet. This one I'm not even going to give you the answer to. This is a pretty advanced problem, so I want you to give it a shot. All right, you can use tangent here. I can tell you that much, that we're not really interested in either of the hypotenuses of either of these hypotenuse. Anyway, we're not interested in the hypotenuse of either of these right triangles, but we can use trigonometry still to figure out both how far away I was initially standing from the tree and how tall the tree is. I will solve this problem in a future video, but for now, I really want you to give it a shot, and I will go ahead and put the solution to this in the comments in a few hours. So that's all I've really got for you today. This is just an example of one of the many ways that trigonometry can be used in a practical or professional setting. Now, our next video, I'm going to do a bunch more examples of solving for angles in right triangles. And after that, I think we'll be able to slow our roll a little bit so that I can catch up with the students who might be struggling. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Class dismissed.